This chapter is entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Here Kamsa, he must have thought, and these wizards must have thought, that killing Krishna was going to be child play. Just like for some grown person to kill a child isn't difficult. Of course, it's a heinous crime, despised by people all over the world, when a small child is mercilessly killed. When we see the modern day atrocities which are going on off and on in different parts of the world, the thing which emits the most disgust when they see a small child being tortured or maimed or killed. Because the child is innocent, has no chance to defend. So here Kamsa is giving the order. There's this little child in Gokul, but he's my enemy. So you should go and murder that child for me. Assassinate him. You can do it any way you want. And so you have Putana. Well, just to be sure you get that child, Putana, you just kill all the babies that are under 1 year old age. Just kill everyone. So that way you'll be sure to get Krishna. So the different demons, they went with this idea to kill Krishna. And they were very confident of themselves, of their own power. Because they had this mystical power. One can get mystical power in a number of ways. One can get the mystical power through process of yoga, and then that is the white power, the power of, one gets Ashta Siddhi by the yogic process. Sometimes one can also get certain mystic powers by performing different types of penances, austerities, and worshipping different demigoddesses or gods, or by doing some kind of magical tantric, black tantric worship of these different powerful devas or devis. So somehow or another, these wizards had been able to accrue these black mystic powers. They're able to transform their shape and to do some different wonderful things. But they had become very self-confident. Because we have these powers, there's nothing that anybody can do to us. We can easily defeat a child. If he's the enemy of our dear friend Kamsa, what better gift could we give him than to just slaughter this child? The demons become very proud of their powers, and if they get mystic powers, well, it really goes to their head. Ravana, who had become the king of the Rakshasas, he became so powerful because of his worship of Shiva and his different austerities that he became invincible to the devas. And the devas became controlled by him. In fact, his son was defeated Indra and became known as Indrajit, the one who could defeat Indra, who defeated Indra. Apparently, all the devas had been put on the step of Ravana, so that when he would walk up to his throne, on the steps of his throne there were the different devas captured and tied down, so he would just step on their bodies to go up to his throne. He's very proud of his having defeated all these devas. And because of the superior mystic powers of Ravana, they could not move. Apparently one day, Narad Muni suggested that you're letting these devas off very light, because you're stepping on their back. Everyone knows it's easy to tolerate being stepped on the back, but if you were to turn them around and step on their stomach, then it would be much more difficult for them to tolerate, much more injurious to them. Ravana thought, oh, great idea. Okay, turn them over. We'll step on their belly. And of course, Narada's idea was because you see all of the planets were looking down, so their influence was directed away. But now when they were all looking up, they could look at Ravana and they could cast all their malefic glances on him to further hasten his defeat in the hands of Sri Ram. So Ravana, when he asked for a blessing, he said he didn't want to be defeated by any other Rakshasa or any of the devas. He never asked for a blessing to not be defeated by a human being or by an animal. Because they're like human beings and animals. They're such puny, weak, insignificant creatures. They didn't even consider them to be a threat. So he didn't ask for a blessing to be protected from them. So he had the benediction. He couldn't be killed by a Rakasha or by a Deva or by any form of, by a Deva, by a higher entity. So the Supreme Lord, he appeared as a human being in the form of a human, as Ram. So he could deal directly with. He was accompanied by the monkeys, bears, and other animals. So here was the army led by humans and animals, which Ravana didn't have any specific benediction to be protected from. But if the Lord appears as a human or as anything, that is unlimitedly powerful. So here Krishna, of course, he's come as the Supreme Personality of God, but he's playing like a small child. In the previous verses it mentioned, just like a lion club is playing, even the lions are such ferocious, powerful entities, animals, the king of the jungle, but their cubs roll around and play, and they hit out in the air and they frolic, and sometimes two lion cubs will roll on one another and play with one another in mock battles, and the lions watch the antics of their cubs and find it very amusing. So it's said that Krishna, although he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he was playing in Vrindavan like a lion club. So many different kinds of childhood pastimes. Just to add the spice, here Kamsa is sending one after another the different wizards, these different demons, to kill Krishna. So in the midst of Krishna's loving pastimes with his associates, in comes the different demons, Pralambasur coming as a cowherd boy in disguise and actually entering into the pastimes and wrestling and playing. We can understand there must have been so many cowherd boys that if one extra one entered in, it wasn't immediately noticed. How could Krishna could understand that this boy was a bit different, and engineered it so that Balaram was being carried by the Pralambasur. When Pralambasur thought, well, I really wanted to get Krishna, but let me get rid of this Balaram first, because then it'll be easier to get rid of Krishna. So like this, each of the demons, they came in, and in a very deceptive way they tried to finish off Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna and Balaram, being absorbed in their childhood pastimes, when they realized, here's another demon, and just like a baby breaks the toys, it breaks the head of these demons, head or legs or whatever, throws them in the trees. Prabhupada is giving us a new insight here. You see, just like these demons, they had little power, and they thought that because of this power, they had become equal or greater than God. Of course, being demons, they didn't no belief in God, but they were considering themselves invincible. When a demon thinks that they have unlimited power and they are invincible, then they think that they can control others and do whatever they want. When a devotee, even they have unlimited potency from the Lord, they simply want to use whatever power they have to serve the Lord and to do good to others, to uplift the people. Therefore you see the difference between the demoniac kings in the history, like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana or Kamsa. When they took over, they dismantled the institutions of welfare for the Lord, and they began to tyrannize their people to different degrees. On the other hand, you have great kings like Ambarish, who was so powerful that even a great mystic yogi like Durvasa was powerless before him. In fact, was almost killed because of an offense to him. But in spite of his vast empire, he simply did everything in a very humble way as a service to the Lord. Duryodhana, you can see how he was dealing by when Yudhishthira, he got the potency, the power. He was performing different jagyas, aswamedh jagya or rajasuya sacrifice, and in this way he was engaging people in Krishna conscious activities he offered Krishna the first remnant of the sacrifice. Narada was there and others were there, but they offered Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the devotees, even they get power, they use it for Krishna. This is something we have to be very careful of, because the materialistic tendency is to misuse power. Right? A common saying is absolute power means what? Absolute corruption, things like that. That's true if one is a demoniac mentality, but not if one is in the proper Krishna conscious mentality. It wasn't that everyone who had absolute power became corrupted in Krishna consciousness. Those who had the supreme power, they utilized it in a proper way. So the point is having the proper consciousness. If one has the devotee consciousness, then the power is not a problem. If one has the demoniac consciousness, then the power becomes problematic, both for the demon as well as for others.